So today, Obama finally went to Copenhagen to join the climate change summit the majority of the world is attending. But the biggest question is, why did he even go? First of all, in an era when you have things like Skype and you can just conference call with anybody on the other side of the planet, the idea of climate change advocates flying their private jets over to Copenhagen, booking up the city's entire fleet of limousines is ridiculous. And I guess you can make the argument that nothing compares to the real thing, to face-to-face interaction. And Barack Obama, as we all know, is quite the charmer. But if he's there representing the U.S., then to me his trip makes even less sense. Because the majority of Americans put climate change pretty close to last on their list of concerns. So what's really the point here? Well, here to discuss it with me, I have David Sievers. He's the coordinator for the activist group Climate Action Factory. David, thank you for joining me. So Obama gave his speech, and everybody sounded really disappointed in it because, well, I mean, what did they want? He went there, he said a few words, and nothing is even going to happen. Could we have expected that?
Yeah, you know, Obama's going to Copenhagen was absolutely critical to try to lead the world to a real climate deal that we need as soon as possible. But unfortunately, he had the opportunity to earn his Nobel Prize by really leading the world to that deal. And unfortunately, it looks like that may not be the case.
But was it really critical? I mean, look at this whole climate change summit has really just been a fiasco. Nothing is getting done. Everyone's just descended upon Copenhagen, upon the city. It's a zoo there, like I said, limousines, protesters, but nothing's happening. I mean, what's the point? Why was it critical for him to go when he could have just done a little conference call?
Right.
And instead of perhaps polluting, spending all of that money, nothing's happening here.
Right. Well, there is a huge opportunity in Copenhagen, and over 100 heads of state attended or are attending currently the Copenhagen climate talks, and in a large part that is because Obama took the step to say he would be there, and that this was going to be the real thing.
Do you think his superstar status attracts even the other world leaders to come?
Well, the U.S. has been doing everything it can to stop progress on climate change for the last 8 years, and so I think the world was really excited to see a new face in the U.S. and to see President Obama lead the world to that climate deal that we need so urgently.
But, like I said, the majority of the American people don't really care about climate change, it seems. It's pretty close to last on their list, so if Obama is there representing America to the rest of the world, then shouldn't he be telling them that? Apparently, it's not really one of our primary concerns.
I actually don't think that's true at all. I think that the U.S. Public cares very much about climate change, and
yeah, but polls show quite the opposite. Only 20% or so think that's a big problem.
Well, two things to that. One, Obama was elected into office under the expectation he would bring sweeping change, and leading the Senate to pass a strong climate legislation is part of his mandate. And the second thing is, people do care about the economy, and they care about healthcare, and those things are all very much tied to climate change. Climate change impacts people's lives. And so while the idea of, the atmosphere may not be on the top of people's list, the things that climate change impacts are number one on people's minds.
Well, I think it's something too, but people, until it starts happening, you don't necessarily so much notice. But the Senate itself is blocking Obama. Obama can't do anything unless the Senate passes this cap and trade bill. And they're stalling. There doesn't look like there's any action happening. So, I mean, Obama isn't this all-powerful being. What did they really expect him to do in Copenhagen if the Congress, if the U.S. Senate doesn't pass anything first?
Yeah, that's a great point. The U.S. Senate has been the #1 obstacle to a real deal in Copenhagen. And the fossil fuel lobby that's been funding their decision to not take action, is the real culprit here. So we need the Senate to pass a strong climate legislation at the beginning of next year, this spring. But that doesn't stop Obama. We can't wait until the world can't wait until the U.S. Senate is ready. And Obama needs to go and lead the world to do its part, so that the Senate can realize that it's time to wake up and that they're the thing holding the world back from...
But how is Obama supposed to lead the world? What would you do if you were Obama? I mean, he went out there, he gave a speech, said we can't just talk about it, we have to create change. I mean, but everybody was disappointed because he's not doing anything. They're not even signing any kind of a deal.
Right. Well, so Obama can't do certain things that only senators can, but he can do things like yesterday Hillary Clinton announced that the U.S. was supporting the long-term climate finance goal
They
of
would give
$100 billion. Right.
Yep.
And that was huge news, and that's something that Obama can decide on. And similarly, he could decide to commit the U.S. And the world to a 2015 peak year for global warming pollution.
Okay. I want to thank you, Dave.
Sure.
It's interesting to see, while Obama is in Copenhagen, if anything will really even come from this conference, especially if American people don't want it. And I wonder where we're getting all that money that we don't have, that we just pledged to put towards climate change.